Welcome and thank you for standing by. At this time, all participants will be in a listen-only mode. There will be opportunities to ask questions during today's call. To ask a question at that time, please press star then 1. Today's conference is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may wish to disconnect at this time. I'll now turn the meeting over to Ms. Rosa Pace. Ms. Pace, you may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for our webinar on Basic Guide to Exporting, How to Identify International Markets for Your Products. I'm Rosa Pace, a Senior International Trade Specialist with the Trade Information Center. The Trade Information Center is part of U.S. Commercial Service at the Department of Commerce. I'd like to welcome all of the U.S. Commercial Service clients and other webinar participants in expert community who are joining us from all across the U.S. to learn about this very useful topic. We're very happy to note that we have a very diverse assortment of participants today, that our participants include new-to-export companies, experienced businesses with very interesting products, Small Business Development Center counselors, State Economic Development Agency participants, and our CS partners. You are all very important players in the National Export Initiative, and we count on you to help making this initiative a success. This is the first in our free webinar series on the export basics that are brought to you as part of this important initiative. Our speaker for today will be Dr. Abdul Sheikh, Senior International Trade Specialist at the Trade Information Center. Dr. Sheikh coordinates business counseling to promote trade, investment, and commercial opportunities for U.S. companies. He's constantly sought out as a speaker at trade events on doing business overseas. He also directs the India Business Center. Dr. Sheikh has taught in MBA and Engineering MBA programs at Johns Hopkins University, the University of Maryland, George Mason, and Virginia Tech. He obtained his PhD in economics from the University of Massachusetts. Our speaker will be available at the end of the presentation to answer your questions. The operator will put you in a queue to have your lines taken off mute to ask your question. Contact information will also be provided at the end of the webinar if you have additional questions after the event. You will be able to hear the presentation via your telephone and view it simultaneously via your computer. If you're not hooked up through both, please take a moment to do this. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please press star 0 anytime during this presentation. Now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce Dr. Abdul Sheikh. Abdul?
Yeah, thank you, Rosa, for a kind introduction. And I want to extend welcome to all of you who have registered and participating with this webinar. This is one of the important one, as Rosa mentioned, that we have initiated this webinar to conduct free of charge so that we get more participants, and also to emphasize that this is in view of the President's National Export Initiative, which many of you might have heard that he has proposed that in the next 5 years we double the exports and create at least 2 million jobs. And U.S. Foreign Commercial Service, which part of the U.S. Department of Commerce engage in export promotion, would like to work with all of you and help us to double the exports and reach our goals of creating jobs in the United States. Since the launch of the National Export Initiative, Department of Commerce has assisted several companies, and we have been able to support $11.1 billion worth of exports and created 70,000 jobs already. And we also have taken several trade missions to different countries with companies participating with us. Before I embark on telling you what are the best market, maybe I would give you a little rundown on international trade, especially the U.S. trade as it is, where it stands, and who are the people, the exporters. If you are a small business exporter, you may be pleased to know that 97% of U.S. exporters are small and medium-sized companies, because many people have a notion that it is only the big companies are exporting, but the fact is the majority of our exporters are small, and export business brings more growth to not only to U.S. companies but also to the country as a whole, especially when the economy is slowing down, as we experienced last year and continue to experience somewhat again this year, and more companies therefore look for overseas to expand their profit and sales. And selling more will really bring profits and also generate more jobs. And our neighbors are our biggest customers. It's a lot easier to do business, I believe, in Canada and Mexico, because just crossing the borders, we sell goods there. And however, we currently export to most of the countries in the world, I think 198 countries, and we exported last year over $1.5 trillion of goods and over $500 billion of services. So services also is a large export market, and if you are not producing commodities or goods, if you are in service sector, and I'll talk more in detail what are those products and services we are selling overseas. So the fact is that despite selling so many, almost $2 trillion worth of goods and services, we import more than we export to the world, and that's why we had last year about $380 billion of services. And export is very important because that accounts for about 25% of our economic growth. This chart here shows you, if you are able to see that on your computer, that since 2005 to 2009, how much exports and imports were in terms of the total goods and services we sold overseas. In 2008, we sold more than in 2009 because of the recessions, and the trade was affected to some extent the worldwide. U.S. is still the largest exporter of goods and services because if you combine the goods and services, you see on the right-hand side that you will see the United States on the top. But when you see on the left-hand side, you will see who are exporting most of the goods as a percentage of their GDP. Germany is the largest exporter. We also have a trade deficit, as I indicated to you, and this graph here shows you only most recent one until July of 2010, where the data is available. So our imports are going up, but they are started declining to some extent, and slowly our exports, I think since January, our exports have increased by about 20%. So this is a good sign that we are doing better as we go along. Now, manufactured goods accounts for 81% of our total exports. In other words, our major exports are manufactured goods, and agricultural commodities about 10%, and mineral 5%. So in the pie chart, you see the blue section indicates the largest segment of our export constitute the manufactured goods. And what are those manufactured goods we are selling? Out of $1.05 trillion, transportation equipment, especially the airplanes and related equipment, computers, chemicals, machinery, agriculture, food, petroleum. So these are the top 20 products that we sell overseas. Now, among the top services, the tourism is, we attract large number of, tourists in the United States, so they bring money here, and that constitutes exports. Because when we import, we pay, our dollar goes to other countries. Transportation is another important service. Financial services, education is one of the fastest growing because the American education is in demand in many of the countries, particularly emerging markets. Telecommunication is a big draw in services. Entertainment, of course, the music, the Hollywood, information, and healthcare, medical equipment, pharmaceuticals, nutritional supplements. All of those are the items that we sell to other countries. Every part of the United States is participating in the export. This is just to show you the 24 metro areas exported more than $10 billion in merchandise. Some of you who have signed up from different parts of the country may notice that your region is also involved in the export of goods. Now, as I said, 198 countries, but about 233 destinations we export. So on the World Bank, you see that the red line shows, the red area shows that the largest export, that is our neighboring Canada and Mexico. But at the same time, we also have this green line, India and China, Brazil, Australia, and many of the countries we also have free trade agreements. So it is a lot easier to export to those markets because in many of those countries you don't have to, the importers don't have to pay any duties. If you look at the top 5 U.S. export locations, the Canada, Mexico, China, Japan, and the UK, these are the largest markets. And then I wanted to show you that it is not only the big companies. You can see that the blue line shows the number of, the volume of, this is not the number. In numbers, SMEs are the largest, but in terms of the volume, the total out of $1,500 billion, 1/3 of that, $500 billion, still a large amount, is sold overseas by the small and medium-sized companies. Now, the top U.S. trade partners, apart from those 5, then there are a number of other countries. These are about 14 here in this list who are the largest exporters. And if you look at on the right-hand side, that shows you the largest percentage of the trade that we have. Canada, China, Mexico, Japan, Germany, UK, Korea, France, Taiwan, Brazil, Netherlands, India, Singapore, and these are our largest partners. It doesn't mean that you can't sell to other countries, but that only shows the largest markets we have. Now, in terms of the commercial service exports and imports, as I said, the United States is the largest one, and followed by UK, Germany, France, China, India as well. So these are the countries where we export to them, but we also import large amount of services from these countries that we trade. So you can see that the trade is a two-way street. We sell to these countries, but we also buy from these countries as well. So now let me come to the real issues, that how do you identify the market? What factors, what variables that you need to understand and look when you are selecting the market? Of course, the whole world is our market, but if you are going to target, because if you are a beginner, you may want to target one country. If you are already doing to one country, you may want to look to other countries. So what do you look at these in the selection process? The first and the foremost thing is the economic growth, is the GDP, that stands for gross domestic product, whether it is growing. If the countries are growing, then obviously they become a good market. Like China and India are growing over 8%. Brazil is growing, Middle East and some of the African countries are growing more than 5% compared to the European countries. Of course, the Europe is a big market, but it is a stable market, but it is not growing as fast as other emerging countries. Then just the GDP alone is not not completely relevant unless we know whether they have the individuals, the customers have the income, what is the per capita income, and more importantly, what is the income distribution. That is why when we talk about the emerging markets, we always look at how many people in the middle income group or the middle class, is it growing? Because the middle class who can afford to buy things, because the countries like India or even in China, there are a large number of poor people. But India today has over 350 million middle class. That is more the population of the United States. So they can buy anything that the middle class in the United States can buy. The same thing in China, in Brazil. So there is a growing middle class, makes it good to target those countries. Size of the consumer demand, what is their per capita income, what is their consumer preferences. You know, the Americans love to buy, and we are called consumer society. But there are other countries who say they are very selective. So we need to find out what the products they are looking. Inflation rate, because that is the cost of goods and services, if that is phenomenal. In some countries face inflation. Of course, we are now experiencing kind of a zero inflation rate, as you notice. Currency fluctuation. The exchange rates is very important because we talk about China holding the currency rate, so that makes their products cheaper in the United States and our products become more expensive. So the differences in the exchange rate overnight can make one product cheaper than others. Then, of course, the economic and political stabilities, because when you want to do business, when you ship goods, you want to make sure it is clear, you can travel, and you meet people. So political stability is very important because, if the government keeps changing, if their policies keep changing, because the business wants more stable, consistent, transparent environment. And in the absence of that, then it becomes difficult to engage yourself in exports or doing business. Another factor is how easy to do business. World Bank conducts every year surveys to find out which country is a lot easier than doing business. There is one slide later on I'll talk to you. Another factor that you need to study is about the tariff and taxes. I had some companies from Alabama last year wanted to go in a trade mission that was led by the governor of the state, and one of the persons was trying to sell some products, and that particular product had a very high tariff rate. So that means your product becomes less competitive, and that is important to find out. And I'll tell you where you can find all that information that is needed to do business or succeed in exports a little later on. Then there are some non-tariff barriers. It is not the tariff and taxes alone, but they will say this particular product, like some of the beef from the United States is not allowed to import, or genetically altered farm goods some countries don't want to import. So those are some of the non-tariff barriers. Demographic shift. Some countries are experiencing aging population. And some countries have the population which is very young. For example, in India and China, about 70% of the population is below the age of 35. So these are the young population who are looking for internet savvy, who are looking for products that they can buy from the United States. Cross-border transfer of goods, that is, again, how easy to clear the customs, what it takes, shipment, documentation, and the banking system, how far, because every time you sell, you want to get it paid, and you want to have bank clearance, letter of credits, and all that. That is a relevant factor indeed. Now, continuing with that more, this is similar to those factors. I want to skip some of them. demographic and per capita political. Another factor that is important is culture, because business practices of different countries is different. The way you do business in Saudi Arabia is not the way, because in Saudi Arabia, if you are making a trip, you don't want to go during the month of Ramadan, because that is the month when they fast, and it is not convenient for setting up the meeting. You also need to look at what it takes to enter the market. Are there import licenses? Even you need to know if you have a product that may also require export license. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. Infrastructure, how easy it is, the roads and the airports, telecommunication system, all of those in those countries are important to find out. So this is a chart here to show you the countries who are rich compared to others. So here's a list of countries. These are three estimates here. I just try to put that both. First is the International Monetary Fund estimates, World Bank's data, and CIA World Book also has. Qatar is one of the richest countries. Of course, you see the order is different, but you will see that most of the countries here listed have a higher per capita income than the countries in the emerging economies. But if you look at the top echelons of the people, for example, India has more billionaires in one single country, the top 10 billionaires. There are six of them. Six of the top 10 billionaires in the world are in India. So the rich people and the middle class there is becoming richer and richer, even though when you add the 700 millions of them who are at a poverty level, make maybe $2 or $3 a day, if you add all of them, their per capita income is much less. So per capita income transfers into the buying power, and therefore you want to look at the countries which are better in terms of the buying power. And as I mentioned, demographic changes taking place because the people are the customers. So if you don't have population that is growing, most of the European countries and Japan, the population for the last 5 years has not been growing. And whereas the United States is still growing, of course, immigration and our growth rate is much higher. But the growth in Africa, in Middle East, and Asia is much higher than industrialized countries or the OECD countries. So you want to look at the number of customers and where they are. And also the demographic changes includes the educated workers, what we call them knowledge workers these days. India will have the largest number of workers, new workers coming into the workforce, even though China's population is more than India. China will only add 65 million, whereas the United States will add only 12.5 million in the next few years. European Union is experiencing very slow growth, and so the job markets in those countries are not very good because the population is not growing as fast as in other countries. So the falling birth rates and aging population is also the factor that you need to be aware of in terms of selecting the market. This is the chart showing the world economic growth and inflation rates, because that would give you the purchasing power parity, and you will see that the world is likely to grow, but some of the OECD countries, these are the industrialized countries, are not going to grow as fast as the world. And then, of course, if you look at the North America, Western Europe, Asia is going to grow much faster, Latin America to the same, Middle East, and Sub-Saharan Africa. So where the growth, and if you look at the inflation, that the inflation in developing countries is much higher, 10, 12%, and developed countries is going to be lower. So it somewhat balances out the economic growth and inflation in terms of determining the market. Now, if you measure by the purchasing power parity, that is, what you can buy with $1 in all of these countries, what you can buy in the United States, that is, our GDP measured in the purchasing power parity that has 14.2, it's almost $15 trillion. China has $8.8 trillion that is measured in terms of this. So India is the fourth largest economy in the world. Germany is behind that. This is not in terms of the current purchasing power, but purchasing power parity. That is how each of the currency can buy goods and services. In other words, with $10 you can buy more in China than what you can buy in Germany. So therefore, the China's buying power is much higher. This is again just to show you the whole world where the growth is taking place, which we covered in earlier. And this is again the real GDP that is adjusted to inflation that is going to be a factor. And if you see that China and India is at the bottom here, is much higher, then Latin America is higher, Asia on the whole, EU countries is a slower growth. So slower growth means less demand, but it doesn't mean that they are still rich, so they still buy a lot more. Now, what is going to be the future? So I'm just looking at the future from 2000 to 2020, that you will see that the world GDP is likely to shift from the industrialized countries to the emerging economies. So there are some estimates that by 2020 that the Asia will have almost equal wealth as compared to the United States and EU combined. And in the 50s, we had about 80% of the wealth, and by 2020, we will have EU and US combined 50% of the wealth. So these are the markets. For example, China will grow 400%, India also almost 400%. So that is, in other words, the 4 times that. Whereas if you look at the European Union, that is, they are not going to grow; they will remain as they were in 2000. So Russia and Brazil, they are likely to grow in the future. But this is again the forecast. Nobody knows exactly what is going to happen. But I think you keep an eye on the markets which are growing faster than others, and that is, you want to be in that market. And in terms of the trade, there was a global recession. Everybody is familiar with that, and our trade had peaked in April, and then it had slowed down. And demand fell for finished goods, semi-manufacturing, but it is picking up. As I said, that in the last 6 months, our export has increased by about 20%. And the recovery is going to continue, but it will be still slow worldwide. Now, this is what I was talking earlier, that the World Bank, which conducts every year survey of ease of doing business, and they are measured in terms of the overall ranking, starting a new business, dealing with permit, employed workers, registering property, getting credit, paying taxes, etc. So these are the top countries, a lot easier to do business. You will see Saudi Arabia is number 13. So this is not bad compared to other countries which are much lower than that. So you can see that is other countries in that list. So as you go along, you will notice that the countries some are easier than. So you want to pick those countries where doing business is easier too. Now there is another index that we see, Global Competitiveness Index, that is how, again, how the laws of the countries are transparent, easy to do business, and you know exactly what you will get if you go to that market. So Switzerland, Sweden, Singapore, of course, the United States, and Finland, Canada. These are the countries, and these are the ranking that is done by the World Economic Forum. And every year they look at the countries, which countries are better in terms of overall competitiveness. Excuse me. Having looked at all of these factors, now let us look at the specific, that what are you going to do and what benefits you can get through exporting your product overseas. As I said, 95% of the consumers are outside the United States. We have even less than 5% now. So there are more people outside. So if you want to make money, you need to sell overseas. Therefore, export has become a very important component of the President's new initiative. And of course, it helps your own company increasing sales, expand existing products, stabilize fluctuation, because when the economy is slow here, then you have the capacity to make, so why not sell more outside so that you will continue to make enough profit. Gain information, because doing business, you learn more about the country. And the more you learn about the country, the more prospects you have of doing business in those countries. These are some of those things that is going on. There is a greater globalization. Markets are, the world market. Tom Friedman has written a book a couple of years ago about the globalization. The world has become flat. So there is with the information and technology and internet, now most of the businesses informations are easily available, and those who take advantage of this information and the business potential tend to grow. But at the same time, there is a huge competition, because since we are competing with the world, we need to be better. We need to be competitive in terms of the quality and the price. Because when I travel around the world, I notice that the American products are still respected, and they are needed, and the people are willing to pay a higher price because they believe the American products are better quality compared to some of the emerging markets. And many companies, U.S. companies, are already in other countries, and they are seeking foreign markets. So if you are a small business, then we can help you to get into the foreign markets. So there are a number of ways that you can get into the market. One is, of course, if you have product which you have been selling here, you can sell. But even if you have product that doesn't sell here, you can find market for that product overseas, then you can do export. And some countries still continue to do barter transaction, which we call counter trade. You sell, like Russia used to sell crude oil for U.S. food grains. Or you can, if you are manufacturers, you want to manufacture overseas. Of course, we don't encourage that. We would like to see more manufacturing done here, but you can still import some of the parts and do other total manufacturing here. Or licensing or franchising. If you have a good product and service and you want to open up new franchises, there are a number of people in other countries who are willing and looking for franchisee, or you can have a turnkey projects, or you can participate in equities or joint ventures of all kinds. So there are a number of ways that you can increase your exposure in foreign countries. Now, of course, there are also costs of doing business. When you sell your product, your importer has to pay taxes. This is the importer. You don't have to pay taxes. He has to pay tariffs depending upon the commodity Schedule B number. I'll talk a little bit later on. There are some other costs, inflation, exchange rate I mentioned. Then there is a middleman, the freight forwarders might charge something to clear the customs. Now, if you are new and want to plan a international marketing or export strategy, what are the things that you need to put in your business plan or business strategy? Of course, you need to have a vision and mission, that is where you are, where you want to go, so you do have some long-term plan, because the export is, you just can't do that unless you have a buyer ready and willing to pay, and then you sell it. Otherwise, you need to think long-term, and you have to do what we call in management strategy assessment or SWOT analysis. You need to look at your strengths and your weaknesses and where the opportunities are, who are your threats or competitors. So all of those factors you need to include in your assessments. And then think about the long-term plan, and you have to do market research, which countries you want and why you want to go. And I'll show you in a minute where you can find these market research reports of all the countries in the world free of charge. There are documents that we generate from our embassies overseas and commercial officers who are posted in 98 countries. You need to understand about the economic and currency, and also you need to know if you are doing joint venture and location negotiations, if there is any problems, complaints, violations of the part of the agreement, where you are going to negotiate, where the arbitration is going to take place, which country's law will be applied. All of that needs to be planned so that you don't get totally exposed without getting prepared. And also you need to, how do you price your product? Are you going to sell at the same price? Of course, there are other costs of shipping, taxes. So you need to know, for example, if you have a $100 product, if you are selling it in Sweden, the importer has to pay 25% value-added tax of the sales tax. So that costs him $125. Is it competitive to your product? So all that knowledge, because after all, the information and knowledge really prepares you, better prepares you to succeed in the international market. And you also need to know how you get paid. You have to work with the bank's letter of credits, because you need to be careful. Sometimes you get an order through internet and somebody gives you a credit card. Can you rely on that? How do you check that? So all of that, you have to do due diligence from the buyers who wants to buy your product because you want to get paid. And you need to learn about the cultures and the business practices of the countries where you are doing. And most importantly, you want to protect your intellectual property rights. Some of you have innovations or invention, and that invention is through your intellectual capital, or you have invested a lot of money, and then you don't want that somebody to steal that. So you need to register that intellectual property right in the country where it is discovered and also where you are doing business, trademarks and trade secrets, because these are intangible assets, and that assets have a lot of value to your company, and you need to safeguard them. And we can help you and guide you how to protect that. So these are some of the business trends that is going on. The FTAs, as I mentioned, we have free trade agreement with about 14 countries. We have the first one we had from Israel, then we had Canada and Mexico, then now we have Australia, Singapore, and Latin American countries. We are negotiating, almost completed, with Panama and South Korea, which is pending for ratification. So these the countries where we have the free trade agreements, then there are no duties for U.S. products, so that makes our product very competitive, and those countries are ready and willing to embrace American goods and services. This is again a little more details about the exporting process. You need to check whether you need a license. 98% of the products that the U.S. Export overseas doesn't require license. Only the products which are of a very high technology related or dual usages where the civilian and military uses it, and we can help you to identify where you go for resources to get information. Then some of the documentation, because if you are exporter, those who are already seasoned exporters, they perhaps know that these documentations need to be included. Each country has a different requirement, and then we can help you and provide that resources as well. And this is, different countries have on the right-hand side or the northeast corridor, high contrast culture and low contrast. These are, slow. If you have been into Spain or Mexico, Latin America, they operate much slower than Arabia is another one where there are more holidays. Their work schedule is different. The Japanese, they have their own culture. And here, most of the Scandinavian and Western European, they are like ours who wants to get things done quickly. And so here it's much more slow moving. If you want to negotiate with Japanese, it might take months before you really make a deal. And some of the cultural differences, the language, it is always good to know the language, but it is not necessary because one advantage we have is because English is the commercial language of the world, and you will always find people that you do business with. But it is always good to know the language of the country where you are. And there are a lot of nonverbal, I think there are some tips that is also in our market research reports, what you can't do and what do's and don'ts of doing business. And our value systems and decision-making process, which are also quite different in that as well. So you have to learn and understand the culture, history, markets, economic and social and political trends in order to do business. This is a kind of a neat that I like it, which is borrowed from one of the international marketing strategies. So in the interior circle, that is, you need to have a product, you need to know how to price it, and then you need to get your product, and then you want to have also the channels of distribution. And it is a lot easier to do business domestically. If you want to sell it to Texas or Providence, Rhode Island, then it's a lot easy. But when you want to go to the outer circle, where you have the international environment, then you need to be aware of all of those as well. So, but these are the critical. If you have a good product and a competitive price and good quality, that can overcome all of the problems that you see in the external environment. So, what do you do next? Where do you go for all the help that you need in order to be successful if you are a new one? I would suggest that you call us, and we have established a toll-free line to get export counseling. There is 1-800-USA-TRADE, 1-800-872-8723, and that's the number, and you will find a live trade specialist answering the phone, and then you can get all the help that you need. So we can provide you in-depth knowledge about that market and how to establish relationship with your counterpart, and learn about the business practices. So what we can offer you at the Trade Information Center. Trade Information Center, I call it a gold mine of information, that everything that you want to find, you will find here. And if you don't know, we'll find the information and let you know. So you can find information about country-specific where the international market research reports are, what documentation for each country you need, what are the tariff and taxes, and what are the export licenses, financial terms. And we also have 108 export assistance centers. I think if you are logged in from any cities, each of the states, we have at least anywhere 1 to 8 offices. And if you call, we can give you the locations of that. So, we are the part of the 1,700 international trade specialists who are spread all over the world, including the United States. We have 165 offices in 82 countries. We can put you in touch if you run into any problem with them. If you are taking a trade mission or if you are visiting, they will make appointment. They can generate a list of distributors for your product. So we can provide you all kinds of services to succeed. So you should make use of our services, and that is, most of the services are free. And if you don't remember anything what I said, at least remember this website, export.gov. So export.gov is the first stop for information, and you learn about everything. We have market research library, how to promote your product. You can register your product. You can participate in the webinars. We post most of the information that is useful to businesses on this. And this is the export.gov website. That is the new one we just recreated or elevated to make it very easy. So export.gov, and if you are really first time, you are just thinking of exporting, then you click on this and you will find a lot of information. Then if you are already exporting, if you want to expand, then find new market, then you click on this side and then go through. Then if you click on opportunities, that will give you the market research reports. And if you run into problems, finding a Schedule B number or any data, and then if you click on locations, all our district offices and overseas offices, all that information. And if you can't find what you are looking, then call 1-800-USA-TRADE. So if you click on this opportunities market research, so you will see that market research tab. You will have all countries' market research reports. So if you click on that, you will get a library. And the library, you can search by industry, that is a drop-down menu, all regions, say you want South America or Africa or Asia, or any particular country. If you click on the drop-down menu, you will have every country listed from Algeria to Zimbabwe and in between. And then you just click Go, and that opens up the country list here. I just have a list of countries, and then you click on the country, and you will find the market research report. So the market research reports, they are, there is a whole country. This is, I think, for India. I was just looking the other day how many reports. We have 1,559 reports about India. One is doing business in general. Then we have particular, gas industries project, new project, test and measurement equipment. So by industry. So all these research reports are done on ground by U.S. commercial service officers and foreign service nationals who are placed in different cities of the world. So these information, all of that information is available for you free of charge without any fees. And the same reports, if it is done by consultants, you may have to pay quite a bit of money. So I would strongly encourage the countries that you want to do, click on that market research report and get the country commercial guides. It has about 10 different chapters. First talk about the general political economic situation. Then there is a chapter 5 which has the best prospect all the products that U.S. can sell to that country. And there is a whole area of market research done, who are competitors, what is our shares, and then, of course, all the contacts in the appendix of the countries. So there's a lot of information. So before you call, just surf through, take some time and surf through the depth of information that you can find to succeed in global market. These are some of the chapters and the best prospects in the commercial guides you can see. Now, what else you can do? You can, if you have a product, you can advertise in targeted markets. This Commercial News USA is published by us and distributed to 400,000 buyers from around the world. That means it's kind of a description, and I think it costs you very little money, maybe $150, and you advertise. And a lot of people advertising that, because this is distributed worldwide to potential buyers, and they can contact you directly. You can also promote your company in a catalog. We take the catalogs of many of these companies, and we have catalog exhibitions, whether it is in Dubai or in Beijing or Buenos Aires or Mexico City. And these, the catalogs of the U.S. companies are taken, literatures and videos, and U.S. pavilions, they are displayed, and someone who is interested in it, and we receive your orders and communicate back. So if you don't want to travel, you can send your catalog to those shows. And where those shows are held, they are also posted on export.gov. So the export.gov is the basis where you find everything that you want to know. Find market intelligence and business information. We also have specialized business information center on export.gov for India, China, and the Middle East, because these are the fastest growing market, and we have detailed information if you are looking for those specific things, market readiness, sources and research and trade finance and everything about those countries. And so you go to those centers' website. Now, if you are looking for a partner search, then we can do that through our commercial service, and we can put in touch with our local U.S. Export Assistance Centers, who will communicate the country where you want to go and find the partner in doing business. We can also generate, as I said earlier, a list of distributors as well. You can also look at the Buy USA, is a unique e-market that provides trade opportunities for U.S. exporters and international companies. So you can surf through that, and then you can also see the sites of each of the embassies in foreign countries. This is another source that you can use, thomas.net, thomasnet.com. It's an online directory of more than 607,000 North American companies. If you are looking for a particular product, or like if you are an intermediary that you want to buy products and sell overseas, companies, and you have all of that on that, you can search through that information if you are looking for. Or you can also go to Export Hello Pages, that is exporthellopages.com. offers a free directory that includes information for more than 17,000 U.S. companies exporting. So you can find their contact if you are looking for those companies. Now, data is very important, where you find that. So that is also you can find on export.gov. There is a trade data. You can find national trade data. All the data I showed you at the beginning of the presentation, all that came from here, some of it. If you want to find out each of your state, where they are selling, which markets they are selling out of those 198, what products they are selling. So you can search all of that information to get knowledge and see whether your product is also needed in that market or not. Dun & Bradstreet is another very good source of information that would provide you information if you are looking for, of course, the Dun & Bradstreet does credit checking of the companies too, as you know. And then there is a FITA.org. It's the international trade. There are 450 association members and 450,000 linked company members. If you want to be part of that and take advantage, because some of the trade associations organize trade shows, trade missions, and you can join that. We do that here too. We periodically take trade mission, which is organized by the Department of Commerce. The state governor's office does that. They all come to us for help because we have commercial officers in those countries who select and do due diligence of your prospects and then set up appointment when you go and visit that. I think in 2007 we took 250 companies to India. That was the largest trade mission. And President is planning to go to India in November, and he may take some of the companies with him. I'm not sure yet. TradeKey.com is another important source which links the traders worldwide and provide you the ISO quality management system and also Gold Key services. So that, I think, it covers the presentations that I had, and I hope you will use this information in gaining insight into developing a very good strategic plan to succeed in exports. And we would like each and every one of you to become the part of this National Export Initiative, and we are here to help you. And you can use the website export.gov or call us here at 1-800-872-8723 or 1-800-USA-TRADE. And I want to thank all of you for taking the time to join us this afternoon, and we look forward to working with you. And if you have any questions, you can ask now. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please press star then one. Please unmute your phone and record your name clearly when prompted. To withdraw your request, press star then two. Once again, if you do have a question, please press star then one. One moment, please. Our first question comes from Rachana Kapoor. Your line is open.
Hi, this is Rachana Kapoor. I'm calling from ComputeQuest. Thank you for so much of information, Dr. Abdul. My question, I actually have a couple of questions which I sent out in the QA. I guess I'll just target the main ones right now. You mentioned about the National Export Initiative, and we were interested in finding out what is the government incentives and benefits provided for exporting biotechnology instruments, hardware and software. We are just starting into export, and this was one of the things which we were looking to find out.
Okay. If you want to find out more about the NEI, if you go to whitehouse.gov and then click on the export, the National Export Initiative. Recently, there was a cabinet secretaries together. You know, all the major cabinet secretaries are engaged in bringing together a comprehensive export strategies, how to increase our exports. Now, on each of those, you know, the financial side, it is the SBA and Exim banks are on the commercial side, the U.S. Department of Commerce providing information through our Export Assistance Center and trade information, market opportunities, and finding the right buyers in those countries where you want to export. You know, those are the services provided by us.
Okay. And what I understood from your presentation, you mentioned that for the taxes are paid by the importers, not from the export?
Yeah. What happens is, suppose if you use FedEx, say you ship a package to, let's say, Dubai, and the FedEx may deliver that package, if that is the understanding between you as an exporter and the FedEx, then the FedEx clears the customs and delivers it, and then they will bill you to collect the taxes that is to be paid. So that is why in shipment, before you ship, you should include that the price, the taxes also, so that you will not get surprised later on when the FedEx bills you. Unless you have made an arrangement with the buyer in Dubai or any other country that he is willing to pay to the courier the taxes.
Okay. But in our situation, there are some instruments which we are buying from the manufacturer. It's not our own manufactured instruments. And they're giving it to us on a reseller price. And let's say if we put some percentage on it, some commission, and then sell it to the exporting company, won't we have to pay taxes on the profit which we make?
No, the profit that you make here, that would be paid to the IRS, the Uncle Sam, But the taxes I'm talking about is the tariff.
Tariff taxes. Okay.
That is when the cross borders.
Okay.
And the money you make, the profit you make, that would be your company profit. And then when you file tax return, will show your net profit and pay taxes.
Okay. And then the last question I had was, we wanted to find out about what is the paperwork which gets entailed in doing export of these instruments and also with the software, and likely if we can get some help with finding out the insurance companies or freight forwarder, identifying the harmonized code.
Yeah, all that information is on our export.gov. In the logistic, if you click on that, then there is a whole section of finding Schedule B. Then the freight forwarders, the website, the documentations, what documentations you need by country, and what the tariff and taxes are for the product for each of those Schedule B number for each countries. All that information is on the export.gov. And if you can't find that, just call us that on 800 number.
Okay, very well. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And if I may just add, this is Rosa Pace, to Abdul's question in terms of NEI. Just want to take advantage of this opportunity and bring to your attention that we're going to have a next webinar on financing your exports and getting paid. Now, some of your questions may be answered there because our presenters from SBA, Small Business Administration, and Exim Bank and others will be talking about the new sort of financial instruments that may be part of this NEI, New Export Initiative. And the webinar will be taking place on October 20th at 2 p.m., and it's on our export.gov website.
Our next question comes from Gerardo Andrew. Your line is open.
Yes, thank you very much. At the outset, let me just thank Dr. Abdul for the beautiful presentation as well, very informative. My question was going to be, how can I get myself, my hands on maybe a paper copy of the PowerPoint presentation? I think I would need something like this as a refresher course, if you will, just kind of go over that. There was a lot of information that came in all at one time, and I really didn't take that many notes. But
Ruja, we are going to post
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we will be emailing to all the participants the presentation as well as the real player download where you'll be able to actually listen in again to Abdul's presentation, Dr. Sheikh's presentation.
Oh, that is excellent, and we appreciate that so much. Because, like I said, it would use as like my Bible, if you will, to.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, in fact, I'm working on to prepare a primer so that everybody can use it as a guide.
Thank you so much. That was my only question. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
And if I may add again another one on the same website that Dr. Sheikh said on export.gov, when you click under upcoming events or webinars and then the Export Basics. You can also purchase a publication, which is a Basic Guide to Exporting. Those are part of the series that Dr. Shaikh is presenting. And you'll be able to purchase very inexpensively the guidebook that was put together by our office, too.
Our next question comes from Tony Thompson. Your line is open.
Yes, thank you very much for the presentation. It was very informative. And so my question is around Africa and the developing markets in Africa. What we're looking at doing, the companies and the companies that I'm supporting, is to start targeting some of the growing markets in some of the growing countries in Africa. So I'm certainly interested, wondering if you guys have information on the countries of Africa, and also who are the government and also the private sector contacts in those specific countries that I could gain more information on.
Okay, I think that's a good question. In fact, we have, as I said, on the country commercial guide, we have reports on each country, including all African countries, and you can go to the export.gov and /Africa or export.gov market research, and then say, Nigeria or South Africa, Kenya, Zimbabwe, or any country, then you just click on that, and that would open up doing business in that, and what are the regulations, transparency, what are the best prospects that the U.S. can sell. And then in the appendix, it has all government and private sector contacts of those countries where you can contact them.
Okay. That's excellent.
Our next question comes from Steve Smith. Your line is open.
Yes, thank you. Excellent presentation. Couple quick questions. One, what is meant by the competitive index that you talked about, and what do the numbers mean? And then the second question is, what is the best way to find out how to provide services legally in a foreign country, specifically Canada right now? In other words, what licenses are required, et cetera, and how do we properly and efficiently transport our valuable tools of trade while providing these services?
Okay. The competitive index is developed by the World Economic Forum to determine which countries have ability to succeed in global market based on their economic, political, and legal framework. So some countries, as you saw in those countries, that the markets are open, the rules and regulations are very transparent, doing business is a lot easier. So that is the World Economic Forum. There are several organizations, the Cato Institute has some index, but I use only the World Bank index because that applies to most of the developing countries as well. So when you look at the competitiveness index, that how well they can compete globally and how well the other countries can do business with those countries. So they use about 10 different set of variables and then compile an index each year and then list them. So that is the World Economic Forum. So if you go to worldeconomicforum.com, .org, you will see the whole process and also the methodology that they used. On your second question, some countries don't allow direct practicing by the professionals. But in Canada, since we have the NAFTA, but still there are some restrictions, whether the lawyers can directly practice in Canada. I'm not sure, or you need to have a collaboration that whether you can represent directly without having obtained the practitioner's license in the country. I know definitely in India it doesn't allow American lawyers to represent the clients in the courts, but there are a lot of American law firms have partners with Indian lawyers, then they represent, but the American attorneys do all the work. So I don't have the exact answer, but I'll be glad to find out if you send us an email or call us. Then we will find out from our commercial service in Canada whether that can be done.
Our next question comes from Isiomi Utabor.
Hello, thank you very much for your presentation. I just have a quick question for middlemen who don't necessarily have a product that they manufacture, but know a target market and know the products that they would like to have exported. What would be your suggestions for ways they can work with manufacturers? I know you already mentioned about being able to buy and resell, but in order to maximize profits, what would be some of the best ways to work with the manufacturers?
I think one of the suggestions I have, if you go on export.gov, there is a section, I didn't have time to go through all the 30 links there, called the trade leads. The trade leads that, the foreign buyer who wants to buy products, those leads are screened by our commercial service officers in those countries, and then they are posted on the export.gov. So if you click on that, and then you will see the list by country, the products that they want to buy, then if you are a middleman, then you can buy those products from the American companies and then sell it overseas. So that would be, a easy way to start.
Thank you.
Please press star then one if you do have a question at this time. One moment while we pause to see if there are any further questions. One moment, please. Our last question comes from Michelle Nuafo. Your line is open.
Thank you very much again for the excellent presentation and very useful. My question is about getting information from countries where we export. I would like to know what suggestion you have and what sources you suggest to get reliable import and export statistics for specific countries, and doing so by using specific harmonized code or a product category based on a harmonized code.
If you are looking for foreign countries' import and export statistics, those who are member of the World Trade Organizations, if you go to WTO.org, you will get the trade data, because they are required to share that information, and hopefully they are reliable. The second is that we also have data that U.S. International Trade Commission website, that is USITC, I for Indiana, T for Tennessee, C for Charlie, .gov, G-O-V, and then you click on Data Web, that is D-A-T-A-W-E-B, and they have information on that partner countries' import and exports.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I show no other questions at this time.
Okay, I think then we can close.
Yeah. I would like to thank Abdul for this excellent presentation on how to identify markets for your products. I'm afraid this is all the time that we have. We would like to invite you to call us at 1-800-USA-TRADE to get additional questions answered and